Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Breakthrough Innovation, where we uncover what it really takes to lead change, to create value, and to build what's next. I'm Preston Chandler, and with JL, we lead Centered. It's a firm that helps organizations navigate complexity, spark creativity, and unlock the full potential of their teams through innovation coaching and strategy. Today's guest brings a unique lens to product innovation for us. So it's one that has been shaped by medicine, refined through consulting, and now it's supercharged by AI. So we're thrilled to welcome Astha Purohit on our show today. She's an expert at the intersection of AI, innovation, and retail. She's a former McKinsey consultant, an MIT Sloan MBA. She's currently the director of product at Walmart, where she leads AI and machine learning across the product ecosystem. Astha's advised Fortune 500 companies on transforming customer experience. She has a frequent experience being a keynote speaker on AI and retail innovation. And on top of that, outside of her work, she serves on the board of AMITA and the Rollins School of Public Health at Emory. She's passionate about mentoring women leaders and building inclusive teams. And I'm thrilled to have her on the show to talk to us today about AI, innovation, and how do we grow in times of massive change. Astha, welcome to Breakthrough Innovation.
Thank you, Preston. Thank you so much for that warm welcome.
And like I said, I'm excited to have you just to talk about some of these topics. We're going to jump right in. I know that you've worked across different fields like medicine, retail, product. What are some skills that helped you navigate the differences between all those industries?
That is a good question. So when I think about it, at its core, no matter whether it's business, it's medicine, it's retail, you're solving a problem, right? And when you think about a problem, it can be of two types. One, it's a net new problem, i.e., you've never seen it before, or it can be a problem you've solved before. If it's the latter, like it's a problem that you've solved before, someone in your industry has seen it, someone has tackled it before. The goal is, how do you do it the most efficiently, right? How do you get faster? How do you get more nimble? How do you get more agile? There's an answer that exists. You just got to iterate and get better at it. But the way more difficult part is, what if it's a problem you've not seen before? You have no experience with. That's where first principles comes in, right? Like really thinking about the problem at its fundamental level, breaking it down into like solvable chunks and getting through it. So I think problem solving is a key skill, irrespective of what field you're in. And that's something that will stand you in good stead. The second thing which is tied to problem solving is curiosity. If you're genuinely curious about a problem or industry or an area, you will approach it very differently versus like, I gotta do this. It's a pain. So I think curiosity is a big one. It also makes you think about things in a very different way, right? Instead of just like, this is how we've always done it, you will question like, what is the right approach? How do I tackle this? Can I do it differently? So I think that would be a critical mindset piece to that. The other one is, it's going to sound very basic, but just hard work, right? The ability to sit down and grind it out. I think there's something to be said for that. It's a very old fashioned, timeless value, but I truly believe like if you want to be good at something, you got to put in the reps, you got to put in the R's into that. So I think those would be the big three things as you navigate your career if you have those. And I have a fourth one I just thought of. Skills. I think being able to connect with humans, right? Because we all work in teams, all need to convince people, influence people. So if you've got strong interpersonal skills along with those three, like curiosity, hard work, the ability to solve problems and break them down, you'll be in a good spot no matter what you're trying to navigate, whether it's medicine, retail, product, it's sort of the same.
So with that all in mind, how do those relate to having truly breakthrough innovations in these different industries? And how do you qualify something as a breakthrough innovation?
I think there are two ways you can look at breakthrough innovation. Let me answer that first, and then how do you approach it, right? Personally, a breakthrough innovation is, did you learn? Did you get better? Did you contribute? At the end of the day, did you feel like you worked on something meaningful? To me personally, that's like, hey, that's a breakthrough. I grew in some way. I got 1% better. When I think about it from an industry standpoint, I fundamentally think about it as impact. What was the circle of impact that project or initiative had? Right? It could be people. It could be an experience got really, really better right? Could be if it's an internal to an organization, like how many people internally does it have? So think about it as radius of impact. That's how I describe breakthrough innovation. And then how do you have breakthrough innovation? I think it's a couple of things. One, it's the projects you choose to work on, right? Like if you start with an interesting problem, something that excites you, that's sort of the first step. The second thing is a lot of times as we navigate our career, we might not get that shiny, exciting opportunity, right? But if you consistently continue to do work and show up, be excited, be enthusiastic, be engaged, eventually, I've always found that people give you more scope, right? If you show up, you're doing good work, you raise your hand and you're like, hey, I want more. Nobody, no leader will ever say no, there's no more work for you. So I think it's the path to getting to exciting projects which have a tremendous impact is doing a good job of on what's in front of you.
I think that becomes really interesting when you talk about impact versus effort, because the effort might not be large, or it might be large.
Yeah.
The amount of change might be large, or it might be really small, but it's really about how much impact did we make. I think that becomes incredibly important. I think we often distract ourselves by thinking that because we worked so hard, therefore it's a breakthrough innovation, or therefore it's a really important thing, when we might be focused even on the wrong problem, for instance.
I don't know. Are you familiar with the Gita? It's sort of India's it's a kind of a religious text, but it's also like Life Principles 101. It's a book that's
Yeah,
over
yeah.
1,000 years old. And one of the core teachings in that is to be able to disassociate your effort from the outcome, right? It's basically think about the world's greatest teacher teaching his student how to live life well. That is at its core what the Gita is. And one of the key things he imparts to his students is this idea that your job, your only job, is to focus on the effort. That is what you control. That is what's within sort of your purview. And if you do that to your best ability and give it 100%, then let go of the outcome. Because the outcome is not in your hands, right? The outcome is a little bit of like right place, right time, the right project. Did it land? Like the outcome is not fully under your control. And we're so focused on it instead of focusing on the input. If you focus on the reps, if you focus on what you can control, like that's the path to peace, to freedom, to like doing a good job, let the outcome be. And I think that really stands like it's as applicable today as it was 2000 years ago.
So, talking about that, it feels to me then that there's an importance of prioritizing where to put that effort so that we can get the most probability of outcome. Maybe that's a good way to your point. You can't control the outcome. You have to control where you put the effort.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And when I think about that, right, it starts with a very clear goal definition. Like you got to know where you're headed for you to decide where to put your effort. If you don't know where you're headed or what outcome you're trying to get to, it's going to be really, really hard. And I'm going to bring this very tactically to like like a work example, right? If you're trying to build a model, if you're trying to build an AI agent, let's say that does something very simple, and all you wanted to do is look at all of the data you have and deduplicate it, right? That is critical for a lot of companies who have massive amounts of data. You need to define what you want the agent to do. You need to define what good looks like. You need to define the problem parameters before you start building something, right? At its core, at its foundation, for you to decide what and where you want to put your effort, you've got to start with the goal. Like, what are you trying to accomplish? And I think that is key from a mindset goal setting perspective when you take on any initiative.
Speaking of AI, as we see AI coming through, and it's definitely, I would say, a revolution, not just an evolution. It's not a little change.
Yeah.
How different is it from previous revolutions that we've had, and maybe what can we do to better prepare ourselves for?
Yeah, that's a really good question, right? And there are two parts of it. So let me start with the first one, which is how's it different? Let's go back to the most recent one, which was the internet revolution or evolution, however we call it. It started late 90s, right? And then it progressed. You had internet and you had Yahoo, then Google launched, you had the Amazon era, which was shopping, then you got into social network, which was Facebook, then you got into Instagram. But that happened over a span of 25 years. And when you take a step back and look at it, what that change was it was sequential, right? And it was sequential because there was a lot of infrastructure that need to be laid down. Fiber optics. You went from internet coming through your phone to like Wi-Fi. But at its core, there was massive physical infrastructure that was built to support this. Whereas AI, in a way, existed. AI and ML has existed for a long time, but in sort of the public domain, it came into being in December of 2022 when ChatGPT sort of publicly launched, right? With ChatGPT's public launch, everybody was like, AI is here. If you think in the last 3 years, the growth has been exponential. Like it's the fastest rate of change that we have seen. And that's fundamentally different because the infrastructure was there. A lot of the stuff that we needed for internet, the internet era, was something that already AI could leverage. It had massive amounts of data which could be fed into AI models so they could be trained. The fact that AI models are self-improving versus internet was additive, right? To build the infrastructure, you needed to give access, whereas AI, like it is getting better day by day because it's thinking and behaving in a way similar to how humans learn, right? So there are fundamental differences. It's much faster than the internet revolution because of those core things. Additionally, one of the biggest changes is it's a software update, right? Anytime you have a new AI version, it's a one-click update and the entire world is now using ChatGPT 4.5 versus internet, it rolled out in phases. And that's a core difference, which I don't think people realize. Tied to that is how quickly humans can adapt, right? Like if you think about learning, for human beings, most of the times when we are picking up a new skill, it takes some time. AI is moving at a pace which is shortening the time you need to learn, pick up, and master a skill. By the time you master that, there's something new, right? Which I think is causing a lot of stress for folks because they're like, how do I keep up? I'm feeling AI fatigue. That's a very common sentiment that people are starting to feel. So I think that's how I think about the differences between the two. And when I think about what can we do to navigate this well, there are a couple of things that I'm following myself, and I think that I've found helpful. One is go in with a very curious mindset, like, hey, what is this new technology? How can I learn? And when I think about it, it started with just us being able to put text into ChatGPT, right? Then came Midjourney, where you could create images. Then came multimodal. I could upload documents. I could upload pictures and ask it to do analysis. Then came reasoning. Now you've got AI agents. Like in the last 3 years, everyone's had to learn that. So by being curious and having an open mind, that's huge. Second, give yourself time, right, to pick this skill up. For me, I personally spend about 2.5 hours, both on Saturday and Sunday, just getting smart on AI. I have dedicated time blocked off, and I'm like, I'm going to learn. I'm going to build an agent. I'm going to learn how to create video. Having that dedicated slot gives me peace of mind. I'm like, okay, whatever is happening, I will tackle it then, I will learn then, and I will grow then. So those two things are important. And third is adaptability, right? No matter what your profession is, if you're an engineer who's coding, if you're a PM who's writing PRDs, if you're a UX UI designer who's used to creating stuff in Figma, that's going to change, right? You need to learn to adapt and bring some of this new tech into your space. I think those three things is what I've been focused on, and I think those would help anyone who's trying to navigate this.
That's great advice. Before we wrap up, I asked, what are some places that people could go to learn more? Where would you recommend? Are there books to read? Are there blogs to watch? Are there podcasts to listen to?
I think it's gonna sound funny. I use AI to help me learn about AI. I actually built, I've trained a custom GPT, which every day basically scans all of the World Wide Web and gives me the top 5 things that were net new in the space. So every day I get my own personalized digestive bullet. I've also personalized it to retail. Like I've told the GPT that I care about retail, I care about private, I care about data integrity. So it gives me the top 5 bullets, and then on these specific topics, it gives me an additional update, which I found very helpful. When I'm trying to learn a new skill during the weekend, which is my 2.5 hour block, I basically sit down and say, hey, this is what I'm trying to learn, create a custom module for me. And it does a really good job. I typically do that both across Gemini and ChatGPT. Surprisingly, the results are different, and I get slightly different things from both. So having them come together gives me a really, really good answer. So that's how I've been learning, because I've thought about blogs and YouTube videos, but it's very customizable. Whereas this gives me like, hey, keeps me up to date in a better way.
Well, and to some extent, you're talking about the speed of learning, the speed of change, and a book would be way too out of date. I
Yeah,
mean, by the time you can publish it, it's at least 3 or 4 months out of date,
yeah,
and you want something that's daily.
exactly, because it's changing so fast. Yeah.
And
I hadn't even thought of that. That's a good point.
as though if people want to collaborate, if people wanna have a chat with you, what's the best way for them to reach out and connect?
LinkedIn. I am someone who I like to call myself as a power user of LinkedIn. I spend a lot of time. I've actually taken social media off my phone, and I found I still itch to scroll. And for me, Pinterest and LinkedIn have become that itch. So I check LinkedIn multiple times a day. If anyone wants to reach out, LinkedIn would be a good way to connect.
Thank you, Asta. It has been a wonderful conversation. Thank you for your insights on AI and preparing ourselves for the future and how do we learn and reinvent ourselves. It's been wonderful.
Thank you.
For everybody else who was joining us until the end, if you liked today's episode, if it brought you value, if there's something you like from it, please consider leaving a rating and review wherever you're listening to our podcast. And if you know anyone who's looking to utilize AI or learn better from AI, share this episode with them and find ways to connect with us. Remember, take one actionable insight and go and apply it. Go do something with us and then let us know about it. We'd love to hear your progress. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time on Breakthrough Innovation.